Is we need to look at what's happening away from the schools and what are the items that we don't need to have the district or the area office do, so we can put those resources right at the school serving children every day. So I think that that's an important thing to look at our budget and how do we refocus the funds to the school center.
I think that what's most important is what happens in the classroom and in the school. And sometimes that's with the instructor, but sometimes it's with support staff, maybe it's with a para, it could even be with the janitor. But what happens in the school is what matters most. So I think we have to take a hard look at the ratio between instructional staff and school staff, site staff, and administrators. It does look to me as if we are too top-heavy at central office, so I think that we do need to look at that. But a point that I want to make, in all due respect, is that this is a policy position, and we have administrators, and we have to make sure that we're holding the administrators' feet to the fire, but that we also trust that they're going in and doing what they need to do. So we set that broad policy. We set statements, as what I said, that we have to make sure that we're targeting what happens in the school, that we're making sure that those who touch the kids are the ones who are getting most of our support, and then we look at administration. And back to how to allocate, I think it's very important to allocate first to the human resources and then to other budget things, and we tend to do it opposite.
If I may ask a follow-up question, because it is in relationship to that. What innovative budget ideas do you have for directing more of the budget into the classroom?
Well, I think that one of the, I have a couple of innovative things that, at the risk of sounding a little trite, I've actually seen them work. So one thing is to make sure that you have the budgets come from the bottom up. You have people in the schools, in the classrooms, actually give input. But also give rewards for people who find waste. My husband, Jesus Castillo, is a Miami-Dade firefighter, and one of the things that they're able to do is give recommendations to save money, and if they find something and it saves money, they get a bonus. They get money back. I know I'd find a lot of waste if I were getting money back.
One of the things we can do is redeploy personnel that may be at a district or area office into the school center. Here again, by doing so, they're involved in that community, in that school, and they can better serve than if they're only at a school center a portion of the time. So I think by taking those resources and moving them from either area offices or district offices into the school centers, they're closer to the issues and have a better first-hand knowledge of what's going on in the school on a day-to-day basis.
Staying along the lines of budgeting, will you support reallocation of funds to renovate Roosevelt Full Service to support the Leadership Academy for Young Men?
I think that's me, right? I think so. Roosevelt's Full Service has been an integral part of the community, and I think that it's important for all community organizations to have the support of the school district, because we need to be working together. Here's a great example. I happen to be in charge of facilities when we built Roosevelt Middle. By working with the community, a couple of things happened. First of all, we were able to build it because we didn't have enough on-site water retention, so I had to work with the city. They allowed us to put the retention across in the park. Also, the community wanted a track that was a regulation 8-lane track. So when you talk about community, school is the community. So I think it's important that those relationships between the schools and the community are very, very close. So I do support those, that position.
I'm supportive as well, and what I'd like to do is build on what Mr. Murgio said, because he made some really good points, and I want to explain why what he said is so important. There is a lot of research out there. It's common sense. A lot of you are probably thinking, why do you need the research when it's common sense? But there's research out there that shows that if you were thinking about a Venn diagram, if this is the child's home, and this is the child's community, and this is the child's school, the more overlap there is, the more successful that child is. So if we want to make sure that children are successful, we want to make sure that they can be the best that they can be, we want to make sure that the community services, the school services are as integrated as possible so that we have an ecological system that is seamless for the community and seamless for the students.
Thank you. Mr. Murgio, what efforts do you plan to make to support the minority diversity program in the district?
Well, I think a lot of it gets back to teacher training. I am a big proponent of teachers are the key. And with being repetitious about this, you'll realize that it's a core belief that I have that we need to make sure our teachers have the right training that allow them to be sensitive to minorities and all children, because you have the same issue whether it's a child that's got Down syndrome or someone needs to be sensitive. Teachers need to be sensitive to that, and I again have to go back to teacher training. If our teachers aren't getting better, I always have believed and have said to my staff, we're either getting better or we're getting worse. We can't march time and just stay in one place. And that holds true with every aspect that we deal with on an everyday issue.
One of the common sense things that we don't really follow as much as we should is the parent involvement. Any diversity initiative is really only going to work if we, of course, have the students and the students and the teachers engaged, and the teachers understanding the need for diversity and understanding and appreciating. But the diversity and appreciating it and understanding it within the child means that you have to understand that child's family and you have to have a relationship with the parents. That's not easy. When I ran the school for homeless children, these were parents who, if you think about Maslow's hierarchy, they were really struggling. But we were able to get 100% parent involvement because we found the ways to get the parents engaged and get the parents involved. It's hard to do, and sometimes people give up, sometimes systems give up. But I think that's the key to making any diversity initiative work, the parents.
I'm going to go back to my other question about the Leadership Academy. And let me just explain a little bit. The Leadership Academy that would be at Roosevelt Full Service Center would be for African American males only. And it would be geared towards educating them and getting them engaged in education and making sure that they are prepared for college or career ready. So with that bit of information, because I heard what you guys said, but I wasn't really clear if you really answered the question. So could you, now that you have a little bit more information, could you answer whether or not you would support reallocation of funds to renovate Full Service Center for that Leadership Academy that will be there?
Again, being a proponent of career education, and that's actually why I went to Inlet Grove High School, because I'm such a believer in that ability to provide a local program that will help people in the community learn and get those skills to be successful in a career is extremely important. So I think that that's important. Now, I will say, I have to be honest that we have to, as a board, look at what our core is. So depending on funding issues, it's not easy for me to say, oh yes, and then it comes up and it's going to be $10 million and we don't have the extra $10 million. But philosophically, that's where I am at, that those types of programs are important not only to the school system because we help, but more important to the community and the people that we serve.
We have to try new models. The traditional model of education, which is really what we've been doing for 100 years, isn't serving very many children at all, I would argue, anymore. And we haven't evolved as much as we should. So I am supportive of anything that is creative, that's innovative, that has reason to be effective. And I think getting males together who are similar and have similar goals, I think that that would work well. I'm also a big fan of the Harlem Children's Zone, and I think that there's things that can be learned from Jeffrey Canada and what he's doing all the way from the Babies Academy with parents all the way to his older success academies. I think that we have to be creative. We can't just keep nipping around the edges. It's time that we get in and do bigger things.
Thank you. Okay, this will be the last question for economics, and Nancy may have another question to follow up, and then we'll go into your closing statements. This is in relationship to MWBE program. Do you know the current goal for minority participation related to business opportunities with the school district, and how will you support reaching those goals?
I do not know what the goal is.
I'm not sure what the goal is now. I know that I used to work when I was at the district office with Al Jones. And I know that through construction, we have goals to provide MWBE. So my belief is that diversity is important, and especially when you talk about small businesses and black-owned businesses, because helping people to create viable businesses is the lifeblood of every community. So I can't tell you what the percentage, whether it's 15 or 20%, because I haven't looked at that lately, but I know I worked with it in the past.
I have about 3 questions. How much time? No.
Time for the best one.
We have to wrap it up.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna ask, okay, for the students or children who do attend the pre-K programs in the school district, in a school that is not their home school, how will you address displacement and reassignment?
Well, that's a big question. It's kind of a loaded question, because first of all, I think that we really do want to try to get neighborhood schools where we can. We really do want to have schools, as I mentioned before, having community, having families, and having the schools as tied together as possible is best for the kids. That's very hard to do when they're far away. It's very hard to get parents involved when they're far away. So first of all, I think we want to avoid having a lot of displacement. When we do have it, we have to make sure that we do whatever we can to have small learning communities within schools. And if you have children who are displaced, then it's best to find other children within that neighborhood and make sure that they have, just as in some places you'll have sibling preferences, or they'll have kids who will go from one grade to the next together, having neighborhood kids be able to find each other when they're in schools that are further away is one way to do it. There's a fair amount of research out there. I'm sorry, I keep going over. There are other things that can be done, because this happens all over the country, and there are models for solutions.
One of the issues, and I believe that most people that I speak with feel that neighborhoods are important to schools. One of the issues that I tried to bring up back in the mid-90s when I was working in facilities and planning and real estate is the vision of having small, very small neighborhood schools that might be right in the middle of a housing cluster that perhaps took 4 lots, and maybe there were 70 children in that school. Well, I believe that that type of a program with preschool is probably the best way that we could go, because then you're not displacing children. Children are in their communities. Parents can walk to that school, and I think that's really important. I know when I was at West Riviera, the link between the families was important. As a matter of fact, I used to have all of my teachers had to visit each child's home within the school year, because I felt that that was so important. And by keeping that community together, and especially with preschool, I think that that's the way that we should try to look at resolving those issues.
Done? Good? Okay. That's going to conclude our question-answer portion of the event this evening, and we'd love to give the candidates an opportunity to give us their final statements. And Mr. Murgio, maybe we can start with you, sir?
Sure.
Thank you.
Well, I would like to say that I appreciated this opportunity to speak this evening. Again, I have 30-plus years in the school district, in the North End, serving as a principal and teacher. I believe that my deep knowledge of the district allows me to come on board and really have an impact on what's going on within the school district.